Hello and welcome back to That's Business Podcast. We are here at episode 2 with the lovely Allison Whitehead as our guest today, and we will be talking about finding your right career fit in transitioning jobs. Allison is our resume writer here at the Resume Rescue. She has a bachelor's degree in communications from Oakland University, specializes in resume writing, cover letter writing, resume formats, and basically all of our writing needs here at the Resume Rescue. Allison has been an absolute delight to work with, but I might be biased because she's one of my employees. But in between writing resumes, and she provides us with lots of laughs. She's a phenomenal storyteller, and excited to have you on here, Allison, that you said yes.
Hey, thanks. Anything to break up the day, you know?
Hey, some days our days get crazy here. So we'll jump right into it, but tell us, I know your start because I hired you, but tell us a little bit about you. How'd you get to this point of being a resume writer in your career?
So, like Angela said, I graduated from Oakland University with a degree in communications, and my background has always been kind of in writing, especially in college and my early jobs. And after college, I went into marketing and event planning, and I didn't really have any creative outlets. So, even though I kind of searched for that throughout my different careers, I never really got that. And throughout, of course, the pandemic brought a whole different type of challenge. Throughout everything, I was just looking for something creative. And when I found you guys, I was like, wow, writing, awesome, because my minor was journalism. And I remember in college, I was like, I'm not even going to do anything in writing because, like, it's not viable. Just didn't seem like something that was going to be, a realistic thing for me. But
Right.
here I am. So that's how I got here.
I love it. And just a little background too. We found Allison from what was it, the OU career board or
Yeah.
alumni
Yeah. It's
page?
like a Facebook page. Yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't in the traditional job tabs or like the Indeed or Career Builder or LinkedIn. So I think that's something people don't take advantage of, or the alumni pages aren't run very well all the time. But looking for jobs in the unlikely of places, I think, is something a lot of people just don't utilize or don't
Hmm.
see, especially as a recent grad. I mean, I don't
Right.
know about you, but I was like, oh God, deer in the headlights. I don't know what I'm doing for the rest of my life. And it takes a
Yeah.
little bit to find that career path.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, I was, uh, I was what, 25? Yeah. Cause I'm 26. So I've only been working for you for like a year.
Yes.
Can't keep track anymore. But yeah, I remember I would say like right out of college and like early in my career, I'm like, oh, it's stupid to know I have to know what you want to do. But I thought I knew, like, I thought
Right.
I was there and I was in it,
Mm-hmm.
but I obviously was not.
Right. And it's okay to change jobs. And
Hmm.
into what I love to talk about, because you have a very unique job history. But I
Hmm.
wanted to see, because I mean, you're a resume writer too. We talk to people all day, every day. But
Hmm.
what kind of motivated you to find a new job, or what was kind of like the tipping point of like, I need a new job. This is what we're
Hmm.
looking for.
So throughout like my older marketing experience and sales experience, I worked at a nonprofit, so it was a lot of just basically going with whatever hours were best for them. And right out of college, I was fine with that. It was fine, but then I got to the point where throughout you know the marketing position and the event coordinator position, which I did um, with like a family event center, I was like, I can't do this schedule anymore because I was honestly missing like big events with my friends. I was missing time with my family. Everybody knows that nonprofits aren't where the money is, also, so
True.
money was a factor. But I just needed something consistent, and
Right.
I also just wasn't feeling. I know it sounds like super cliche, but I was not feeling fulfilled in my old jobs,
Mm-hmm.
and I needed out. So I,
Right.
like I said earlier, the pandemic just changed everything too. So if that wasn't really my motivating factor, it probably would have taken me a lot longer had it not been for COVID. I probably would have just kept making excuses on why it's okay to work this crazy schedule, or not have creative outlets, or do X, Y, and Z to not be happy in the position I'm in. So I think it was just overall just not being happy with where I was.
I like that. No, and that was, I mean, not to share the story on every episode, but it's the same thing of yeah, it took me getting fired, or I was like, oh, this is normal. I mean, working every night
Right.
and holiday, and like you said, the work-life balance
Mhm.
of, oh, wait, I'm missing everything. I'm missing out on friends. And like, oh, your 20s are supposed to be the time of your life and everything's supposed to be sunshine and rainbows. And I was like, this
Yeah.
is not sunshine and rainbows. Like,
Mhm.
unsubscribe from this, but I
Yeah.
feel the same way. I
And I
love
didn't
that.
even get like a true vacation until I came here. I'm sure I told you that. Like I
I don't
never
think you
took
ever did.
I never
What?
took like an actual vacation. Like I went up north like once, but going to Gatlinburg was like for a
Right,
week. A whole week was like my first true vacation since I graduated college.
right,
So I wouldn't have had that opportunity anywhere else.
right. And life's too short. I mean, I was the same way where I remember having to ask and beg to work flex time or to
Mm.
just, hey, can I work from our office in another state that is there? Like, can I do that? And it was always like, no, sorry. I need you to beg for it. And it's like, no, thank you. But
Yeah.
I feel that. Okay. So working for my craziness and the resume rescue, what does a day in your life look like?
Oh, well, you
She
know,
sighed. She
it's
sighed already. Here we
crazy.
go.
No, it's different every day. I was just telling someone this yesterday. Like that's one of the things I really like is I just don't really know what to expect. Whereas in my old jobs, it was so consistent and I just knew what to expect. And I mean, you know me, I like my consistency, I like my
Thank you.
schedule and my routine, but I I really like, just learning about different jobs and things I never would have known about to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to working here, I mean, I usually start out my day by like looking at what I need to do,
Right.
you know, formulating a timeline in my head, which never actually works. But I just basically dive into resumes or whatever I have going on, cover letters, reformats, anything, meetings with you guys,
Mm-hmm.
and I basically just try to make sure that whoever's resume I'm doing or whatever I'm doing for any of our clients is just something that they're going to enjoy.
Sure.
And, not to relate literally every single thing back to my old jobs, but I never did anything in my old jobs that was like producing something so valuable to somebody because,
Okay.
at the nonprofit, it was like, here's your membership, right? And then at the event center, it was like, here's your party. But now it's like, here's your career development, and like how you can better yourself and have a better job, and just create a better version of you. So I like that aspect of it. But it's basically just writing resumes and drinking my decaf coffee,
Doing the
listening to
damn thing.
music, doing the damn thing.
We love that. What's your daily playlist look like? What are your
Oh,
jams?
Hans Zimmer, the guy who does all the music for like Transformers, Pirates of the
Oh, yes.
Caribbean.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Okay.
So all of his music is very like it's just instrumental
Mm-hmm.
and I like it a lot. Gotta look it up. The No Time to Die James Bond soundtrack is
Of course.
slapping, as the kids say.
It's slapping, as
So
the kids
good.
say.
So I listen to that and that helps me like get things done in a timely manner. That's my favorite.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, she's a big James Bond, like kind of sort of really obsessed. So
Daniel Craig, James Bond
Daniel
to be
Craig. Sorry,
specific.
sorry. My bad. That's her man. Her man over there. All
Yes, that's
right.
true.
It is. It is. Now, what's kind of the most common mistake you see on a resume or you see over and over?
I see a lot of people putting pronouns a lot of the time. When we do, our resume refresh and we give people options and, our critiques of their resume, I often see myself saying, don't put pronouns or don't put pronouns. Or another thing is like, I see a lot of people not use the right verb tense.
Oh,
And that's
that's right.
something I learned in college and I didn't know before then. And if I wouldn't have
Oh,
learned that in college, I wouldn't have known that, when I got older.
right.
But those are probably the two biggest ones. And then occasionally, we have the pictures on the resumes, which we know is no bueno.
Right.
And yeah, but those are probably like the two biggest ones.
Okay.
Hmm.
I like it. And then what's something kind of people go wrong format wise? Because we get this question all the time is like, why do formats matter? Do they really mean
Hmm.
anything? And what would you say to that?
Um, well, just from me personally, obviously I don't have a recruiting background, but just from a
Right.
visual standpoint, um, I I just really get thrown off when someone has like a very busy format, and I
For
see
sure.
that a lot, as I know you know. Um, so that throws me off, and when people have just a bare bones format, right? So you have to find
Hmm.
like the perfect in between, and that's what I tell my friends. That's what I tell everybody. Like you just got to have that perfect in between. And with the applicant tracking system, like with us reformatting resumes, like that helps that. But I also don't see like a skills or expertise section on a lot of resume formats too. So that's something interesting.
And maybe that's your same answer to my next question, but
Ooh.
what do you think is something necessarily kind of like what job seekers aren't using, whether it's like a platform, space on a resume, because we get questions out of the woodwork every single day, and it's
Mhm.
like, oh, never thought about that. But we get this. I mean, we worked with 800 clients last year, but what
Mhm.
is something job seekers aren't utilizing?
So definitely a better format
Mm-hmm.
is a big one. But I also think just like the social networks that they use every day. So you guys found me on Facebook, and I
Right.
don't think you realize like how big that network is, even if it's not LinkedIn. Of course, like we can preach that LinkedIn's fantastic because it is, but like I also think it's important that you're connecting with people on other social media platforms
Sure.
that might have a job that you've never been interested in. Like I never once thought in my whole life that I would be a resume writer. If you told me 2 years ago, I would have been like, oh, what?
Oh, what?
You know?
No.
So just utilizing the people around you. I mean, Destiny graduated from the same school I did. So
Right.
that's how she found me through Facebook, but that's how she found me because she was in the same group. So
Mm-hmm.
just your networks.
Or what is the phrase? It's like you're one connection away from someone that can get you a job or change your
Mhm.
life or whatever
Mhm.
the cheesy saying is, but
Cheesy,
it's true. We love
cheesy sayings.
it. Okay. Now, this is from I mean, we talk every single day, even on the weekends sometimes. She texts me, I don't text her. I'm not a bad boss, I
Oh,
swear. But
whatever.
well, I hated when my bosses would text me on the weekends and I'm like, leave me alone. I hate your guts. So
No, it's always memes. It's
yeah, it's
memes or
fun.
me telling you useless
TikToks.
information.
We love it. Back to you being a great storyteller. So
Hey,
I get
thanks.
it.
I
Hey, you're
try.
welcome. Now, what would be, because we talked about this already, of being stuck in your career. So, what it would be a big piece of your biggest piece of advice or multiple pieces of advice for someone that feels that, like, I'm stuck, I don't
Mhm.
know what to do in my career?
So I remember specifically when I was feeling super stuck, and my boyfriend Ian told me, like, you just have to make the move. Like, you can't keep making excuses on why you're not happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think people realize that. Like, they don't make the move because they feel complacent. They feel like they can't find anything better, and it's just not worth it.
And
Like
it's
if you're,
scary.
it's so scary. Oh my gosh, it's so scary. And like with me, it's like I was coming home and crying every day. And if you're doing that, like that's not okay.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And people don't realize it. They're like, oh, I'm making X amount of money here. It's like you could be making more actually. So, there's that. But I think it's just people need to realize when it's a bad environment, and there's so many factors that go into it, as we always talk about, just with the we're all a family mentality, which I've had before, and we're in this together, those kinds of
There you
things.
go. Right.
And people, I think, get sucked into that um, kind of environment.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of it too is people feel like the relationships they've made at their current job maybe aren't worth leaving. I know that I've had that in the past too, where I'm like, oh, my good friend Liz, I'm like, oh, I love working with Liz though, like I don't want to leave.
Right.
But that's just not worth it for me professionally. And then also
Yeah.
Liz went and found a new job too, so we love that.
We do love
But
that.
just people just need to make that first move. And although it's super scary, it's super worth it, And once you get past that, I mean, everything's smooth sailing from there, or as smooth as you can make it.
Right. Well, I feel like we've had probably a fair mix of people who say, like, well, I love my boss or I love my coworker or I
Mhm.
love so and so. Like, do I really want to leave? And
Right.
this is vulgar to say, but I always say, if something happened to them, God forbid, would you stay there? Or if they got a new job, if they insert something terrible that happened, would you
Mhm.
stay there? And the answer is always no. So
Yeah.
you have to do what's best for you. And I mean, the math on if you're not regularly receiving a raise or being compensated, or, I
Right.
mean, I know you've heard the story 5,000 times, but we're going to tell it. I mean, I worked nights and weekends, and, $35,000 a year I was making, and they
Right.
laughed in my face when I asked for a raise. I'm like, I just made you $500,000 in profit. Or you have to look at that of like how
Right.
much money you're bringing to the company, because that goes into it. We had a client the other day that he's brought in $5 million a year, and he went up to, like, I think it was like 8 million during the pandemic. And he's like, yeah, but they won't give me a raise. I go, okay, let's do
Mm-mm.
the math of, they can't give you a 5 grand raise, 10 grand
That's
raise when you're working for a
crazy.
multi-million-dollar company. Come on.
Yeah.
He's like, never thought about that. But
Mhm.
you have to think, like, what is your value, especially when you're making them profit?
Right.
It's the same thing.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. And then, like, in terms of those relationships that you make and not wanting to leave. I mean, I know you've heard this from me. When my favorite, like, coworker, not I wouldn't say like favorite boss, because you're my favorite boss, obviously, but
Oh my
like
gosh, did you
one
hear
of them.
that? What?
But like when one of my favorite bosses and coworkers left from the nonprofit that I was at, like everything went downhill. And a
Mhm.
lot of that was, I think I was masked by the relationship I had with them.
Sure.
So positive. And I was like, oh, no matter what happens, I'm fine. I'm fine because they're there. And when
Right.
they left, it just exposed a lot of it. So I think too, just like think of what your life is like when your favorite coworker is gone, and if you're not happy, then it's not worth it.
Nope. Sure
So
isn't. Yeah, people don't think about that.
I know.
All right. What has been your biggest shock? I don't even know if I want to ask you this, but what's been your biggest shock working for the Resume Rescue?
There's a lot of military people, man. The military's
All right.
crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I oh my gosh, in my old jobs we did like work with military memberships, and I remember people used to come in and ask me stuff, and I would have to ask for certain documents, and I had no idea what anything meant. And like still to this day, I'm not like well rounded in the military world, but
Sure.
I feel so much better about it just being exposed to them. And I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
and I work on them together just so I
Right.
have a better idea. But now I'm watching Jeopardy and I hear like, what's one step down from this ranking? And I'm like, I think I know that. And I still don't know it, but just being open to like seeing it
Right.
um, is is very eye opening. And then just the crazy amount of jobs that I've seen come through here. Like I graduated college and I was like, okay, you can go into sales or IT or
Right. Basic
management,
ones. Mm-hmm.
and there's so many. And I just would have no idea. Like we did a resume not too long ago, maybe a couple months ago, and she was like a some sort of like stock broker partner or something like that, and it was just a job I had never seen, and I was like, oh well, that's new.
That's all.
Okay. So it's interesting too because my friend Liz that used to work with me, she works in compliance now. And before working
Oh.
here, I would have been like, what is that? What are you doing in your job?
Are you going to tell your black belt story?
Oh my gosh, stop it.
I didn't even
Stop.
make fun of you.
Okay. So there's like the Six Sigma green belt, black belt
Black belt.
certification,
Yep.
you know? And my boyfriend in his room has some like plaques from when he was younger saying that he got different karate belts. And every time I looked at it, I would think, wow, I like I don't know why Ian would put this on his resume, so why would other people? So like I would highlight parts of the resume that say that and be like, Angela, do we care that they do karate? And it's not karate. It's full disclosure, it is not karate. So
No, it's not.
we're learning. It's a learning
I
thing.
never made fun of you. I politely told you, and you made fun of yourself. But we can laugh about it
You
now.
gotta laugh at yourself. Yeah,
You have
you know
to.
what? It's okay. Now I know. It's like the one person who told me the one time we were talking, and he said, you know, the marketing jargon, and I said, uh huh, and I
Yeah, sure. Uh huh.
still
Right.
had no idea what he was talking about.
Now you do.
Now I
Now you're a
do.
pro.
And I'm okay on a good day.
Allison, my favorite thing about Allison is when she does like a really hard resume or something outside of her skill set where we do a ton of medical resumes for obvious reasons, but or healthcare, I should say, or engineering is a hot topic because
Hmm.
I have an engineering recruiting background, and she'll text me and say, I am a CMO. I am an engineer. I am better. Or we're big
I'm a
TikTok
nurse.
fans. She's a runner. She's a track star.
Oh, yes.
She is.
It's so fulfilling. Like, especially those nursing resumes. I'm like, yes, patient care. I'm amazing.
I'm
And
amazing.
it's just because, like, I obviously have never been a nurse, right?
Right.
But just putting
You
together
feel it.
what they've done, I'm like, wow, look at me. I can go work in the hospital now.
You can. It's fine.
I'm
It's
an
true.
engineer now.
You are. I love that. Now, this is something we talk about too a lot, but you didn't have a writing background. I mean, you did
Hmm.
have a writing background, but you didn't have actual like resume writing experience outside of
Right.
work, like doing your friends, family, as we discussed. But
Hmm.
what kind of motivated you to apply to the job?
So, along with the various factors going on in my life, I remember seeing it and I was like, this can't be a real job. Like this, I was like, this can't be real. Like, there's no way. But I looked at it and I said, okay, okay. I go minor in journalism, perfect. I had like pretty minimal experience in writing in college, but no actual like professional writing like we're doing now, right?
Right.
So when I saw it, I was like, well, I guess I can take my shot and see. And like, was that the best mentality? Like, probably not, but it worked out. And I remember like I was kind of looking at other positions at the time too, and Ian had said to me like, "Oh, well, what do you think about the resume writing job? Like, how good can that job be?" Because of course, like you don't hear about these things,
Right.
you know,
100%.
don't even hear about them. So I had no idea what I was really expecting. But, going into it and being where I am now, it's obviously worked out. But I think I knew that I had a little bit of experience in writing. I wasn't a professional by any means, but I always like, learning new things and learning new skill sets and it can literally help you anywhere in life. Because even now doing resume writing, like I will now help people with like emails or, hey, Allison, can you help me draft this text back to my boss so I can tell them why I'm not coming in today? Little things like that.
I love when you tell that story because we tell people all the time. I mean, if you apply to the job and you're 100% fit, it's probably going to be a lateral move for you.
Hmm.
Whereas, you want to grow, you want to get promotions, you want to do all these things. But if you apply to a job that you're 100% fit for, it's the same thing and you're probably going to be bored, at
Right.
least in my experience.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you did shoot your shot and we hire off of personality. I mean, I say this all the time like, love Allison. Did she have the most experience out of people we hired? No, you
Hmm.
didn't. I mean, just being transparent with you, and you know that. But
Right.
Allison meshed so well with us. Like, we got off the phone. I'm like, she's the one. She's the one. Love this woman.
I was
Actually,
perfect.
what sold me on Allison was I emailed her and I said, hey, it's a Friday. Like, I know you're getting off work or whatever day we interviewed you. I know you're coming right from work. Don't feel like you have to dress up for
Mhm.
the interview. Like, I'm not going to interview you all professional. And she goes, oh, so I shouldn't wear my ball gown. And I'm like, I love her. I love this woman. I haven't even talked to her. I haven't interviewed her. Like, I love her. And it just goes to show like you hire off a personality and you've
Mhm.
exceeded every expectation. I mean,
Oh, I'm screaming.
she's screaming. That's her line she loves to use, but I love it. Now, if you could go back and you could tell your 18-year-old self something,
Mm,
what would that be?
truthfully,
Yeah.
um, uh,
Oh no.
um, uh, don't take college as seriously as you do. And
Ooh,
and
okay.
I don't mean don't, do well in college. I mean, you're
Right.
paying for that, right?
Sure.
Um, what I mean by that is like don't feel like you have to have it all worked out because I feel like everybody thinks that. And
Right.
I, going into college, was like, I got it. Like, this is what I want to be when I grow up. And I would talk to these people going into nursing, and they knew for sure that's what they wanted to do.
Right.
Right. And then with my degree, it was so broad. And I'm like, what am I going to do with this? And at the time, I was dating someone who was majoring in, I think it was like chemical biochemistry. That's what it
Oh,
was.
dear. God
I
bless.
I know. And he went to Michigan State, and I one
Mhm.
time when I was up there, like, went to one of his lectures with him and just sat there, and I was like, this is the worst thing I've ever sat through. Like, my personal version of a nightmare.
It's
And it
hell.
was terrible. And he was like, well, this is what I'm going to do. And I was like, damn,
Oh,
like, he has it
okay.
worked out too. And
Right.
I don't. So, like, even at the end of college, I was like, don't know what I'm doing. But it's not that serious, because
No.
when you graduate college and you're 21, 22, like, that's dumb. You're not supposed to know.
Right.
So I wish I would have told myself just to, like, take a break and actually enjoy college while you're there,
Sure.
because now I have student loans and I cry myself to sleep at night thinking about them. But, like, I wish I just would have taken advantage of the environment that I was in, and
Right.
also just take advantage of the resources around you, because, like, the career centers at colleges and the career fairs and the networking groups are way more important than you think. I never joined one. I never joined one. And I wish I did. I really do.
Yeah.
But I eventually got there. 26, and I eventually got there. But there are people who
Woo.
graduated college and they were right in there
Right.
and got that connection. But yeah, I got there, but I wish I knew that earlier.
Well, and how at 18 years old you're supposed to decide what you want to do for the rest of your life, and
Hmm.
it's so funny. I mean, again, we write resumes for a living, so seeing the
Right.
difference of, like, hey, this person has a biochemical degree and works in supply chain,
Right.
or this one has a doctorate and does this for a living. So it's just because you're, and I that's a big piece of advice too, is just because you have a degree does not mean you have to stay in said degree path. I don't even
Hmm.
know metrics. I mean, I'm just shooting the shit here, but I don't even know what number of people don't have the degrees they're in, and it's a good bit. Like, it is a
It
lot of
is.
people. Just what we work with and we see,
Yeah.
of it has nothing to do. Like, oh,
Hmm.
my favorite client to date of the career transition. She was in a rock band, traveled all over the world, wrote music for very popular shows like such as Gilmore Girls that everyone knows. And she works in genetics now as a biogenetics something, like, kicks ass at what she does. But I'm like, I'm sorry, what? She's like, yeah, it's the same side of my brain that uses that. I'm like, okay.
What?
I mean, I love my rock music, but there's no way in hell I could do that. So, but
No.
people make career transitions and it's okay. But
They do. That's why I try to tell people that all the time, and they still don't believe me. Until they're in that position, they don't believe you.
right, they really don't. We get, I don't know if you get this question, but I get this question, or I get people that yell at me on TikTok and say I'm lying. But do do I actually offer you unlimited PTO, and what does that look like?
No, you hate me
I
and you
do
don't
hate
offer
you.
me anything.
Facts.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, like, whenever we started out, we had our regular PTO, like, structure.
Right.
And I remember the one day you were like, unlimited. And I was like, oh my gosh,
Oh
this is
my
the best
gosh.
thing ever. And I would tell people, and they'd be like, no, that's just them
No.
taking advantage of you. Because everybody has this idea that unlimited PTO means, like, your company can take advantage of you because you'll
Right.
feel bad asking. But like I was talking about earlier, I was able to take my first vacation. I think I take at least one day off a month, I feel like,
Yeah.
or like a long weekend every other month or something. But I truly think as long as you get your shit done,
Right.
and your boss or like your leadership team that's telling you you can take your PTO
Mm-hmm.
is, for lack of better words, not an ass. Um,
Oh,
you're
I'm not an asshole.
probably,
Thanks, guys.
you're not, you're
Thank
not.
you.
I feel like you're probably okay to be able to take your PTO, because why give that as an option if you're just going to make them feel bad about it? So yes, I do
Right.
think unlimited PTO is like a real thing, and
Mm-hmm.
you do actually give that to me. But it all is from the top down. So, like, a company
Yes.
could say, yeah, we're going to give unlimited PTO, but if they're going to make their employees feel bad about it, um, then that's obviously not unlimited PTO. And we always seem to take time off together. So that's our
She's
problem.
obsessed with me. I know.
I am. It's just because I want to be outside your house waving at you when you come out. Hi.
If I disappear, guys, that's you know who did it.
I know.
Oh my gosh. It's so funny. And that's like cuz I mean, it's the same thing of like we get our stuff done and it's
Mhm.
not it's like okay, great. I haven't told you no. It's
Right.
like 1 week all three of us were off and it was kind of chaos, but we met every
Figured
single
it out.
day, made it happen, but
Yeah.
it's if a company's going to deny you your PTO you're entitled to, it's
Mhm.
you need to leave. Like it's you have gained it. I mean, and the reason that was kind of behind me changing the policy was I'm like, oh, well, whatever I offered, I think like 2-3 weeks, I think 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, that's standard. That's what everyone does. And our other coworker, Destiny, is getting married. And she kept asking me, like, well, what time, like, how many days off do I have next year? Like, because she's trying to coordinate a wedding. And I was like, honestly, I don't care. Like, take your days off and
Mhm.
just get your work done. I mean, I don't really care. So,
Right.
and
Right.
I don't think people look at it as a standpoint of like, hey, you guys don't get your work done. I don't get my work done. We don't make money. You don't get
Mhm.
raises. Like
Right.
that's just it's a pretty linear regression. Well, I don't know if I say linear regression, but it's a linear path of what's
Right.
A to B to C. So
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And it just comes down to like getting your stuff done because there's
right.
weeks, as you know, that we are crazy. Like last week we were insane, I feel like. And then this week
Yes.
we're like kind of crazy, but not as insane. So like
Yeah.
my workload's a little more manageable this week than it was last week. But another thing is like I can flex my time as much as I want, as easily as
Right.
I want. And another thing that comes along with the unlimited PTO in my opinion is the fact that I can flex my time any way I want
Right.
to get my stuff done so I can take my PTO. So
True.
that's super important and nobody realizes that, I guess, that you can do that. And it's so funny because my friends will literally be like, "Are you sure you can take that time?" I'm like, "Yeah, what do you think I'm lying to you? Like,
You're a
come
liar.
on." Stupid. But yeah, I just you work a little bit earlier one day, a little bit later the next day, and you're good to take off your Friday.
Right. I mean,
Easy.
it's stupid. I hate when people argue. I mean, I love a good argument, but
The
on this
concept is
thing,
so simple,
yeah.
but people don't seem to understand it because they have bad experience in it, you know?
Right, and you have to vet out a company. I mean,
Right.
it's like I think I had someone that I interviewed the other day was like, "Well, what does that exactly look like? Like, how
Mhm.
often are your employees really taking off?" And I feel because I give you guys the flex time, like you don't have to take a whole day off. Like, what you got your
Right.
haircut yesterday or wherever you
Mhm.
went. Like, who cares? You're gone for an
Right.
hour, you make up for it, and I don't micromanage you. I may ask, like, oh, do we get this done or what do you need from
Right.
me? But that's to better the business and make sure we're communicating because we all
Mhm.
work remote. So
Right. Right.
there's so many systems in place that just help us stay organized. I mean, if a company is really making you go into work, they just want butts and seats to micromanage you
Yes.
because every system we use, I can see when people are in it. Like I get a push notification every time someone makes an update in our CRM. I don't micromanage it. It's more turned on to see like, oh, this is my point now. I have to review this
Mhm.
resume or I have to schedule this or I have to call this consultation, whatever. But there's just no reason, especially if the pandemic's taught us anything, is that anyone can work remote and be
Yeah.
successful and you don't need to get micromanaged and screw your boss if they're being assholes.
Yeah, I say that to everybody. Do you remember me telling you about my friend that I will not name that signed on for his job to be
Yes.
remote and then they're like,
Mhm.
"Okay, you have to come back in." And he's like, "I'm quitting this job." I'm like, "Hell yeah, you're quitting that job." And like
Right.
when anybody I know gets a job and they're like, "It's remote." I'm like, "Make sure it's in your cover letter." Or make sure it's in your offer
Offer
letter.
letter. Yep.
I'm like, make sure it's in there before you sign that, or else they're going to take advantage of you. And it's so crazy because even my mom working in a law office, like she'll be like, oh yeah, because she's still working remote, right?
Right.
And she'll go in every now and again. But I remember earlier in the summer they were like kind of trying to get back in the office, and my mom's like, I get more done here
Right.
than I do in the office. And it's honestly the same way with you guys. Like you know that we just get more done when we're working remotely than when we meet in person, but sometimes we have to.
Right.
But not that I mind doing it. I love meeting with you guys,
She
getting
hates us.
coffee and a hey, that's not
It's
true.
more for story time. It's really what in person
It is for story time and tacos and good corn salsa.
Yes, facts.
It really is. But you know, if the world could thrive for that long with people working remotely, like why would you spend your money on a facility? It makes zero sense unless you're in like a manufacturing space or a factory or something
That's
like
different.
that.
Yeah.
But like it just the concept makes no sense, and it's so funny too because I'll still tell people like, oh, I'll never work in an office. They're like, what if you get a new job? I'm like, first of all, I'm not. Second,
You're not allowed to leave. That's in your contract. You just didn't see it.
I know. It's in the fine print of the offer
It's
letter.
in the white text at the bottom, so you can't see
Stop.
it. Stop. That's what it is.
People are like, no, you're eventually gonna have to. I'm like, watch me. The world's changing, you know.
Right.
So yes, if you're not even offered the option to do remote when you're fully able to, leave your job.
Leave your job. Exactly. I love that. And as we wrap this up here, what's a fun fact about you, Allison?
Gordon Ramsay follows me on Twitter.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, is it from your grad cap? That was also what sold the deal with me.
Yes.
I totally, that was an unlocked memory I forgot about.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so in college, I actively tried to invite him to a birthday party that I was doing, and I sent him an invitation in the mail. I followed him on Twitter. I was like tweeting him here and there, and then he mentioned me in a video, like my tweet. He was like, "No, I can't come to your birthday party because I'm a bad house guest, but happy birthday." And I literally peed my pants because it was so exciting. Like I was in my college apartment freaking out to my friends. So there's that. We love our.
What was your grad cap? Come on, you gotta tell them what your graduation cap said.
It was you're an idiot sandwich, but it said no longer an idiot sandwich, which is not true. I am still an idiot sandwich, but.
Oh my God, no! I remember. Because I got to creep. You have to creep on your employees you're about to hire on social media. Make sure they're not horrible humans. And I saw that. I'm like, I am in love with her. Wow. Just all around all-star over here. But
runner and a track star.
She's a runner. She's a track star. It goes back to this. You know, a few years from now when people listen to this, they're going to be like, what is the runner and track star? And it's going to be gone.
And they're going to be like, go to bed, grandma.
Go to bed. Go to bed, grandmas. Exactly. Well, Allison, it was so lovely to have you. I know I pressured you into doing this, but
no, I wanted to. Breaks up the day, and I like talking about myself.
She's real good at it too. But
thanks.
Where do you want the people to find you?
So you can find me on LinkedIn, Allison Whitehead. You can find me on Instagram at loveallaval, and you can reach out to me if you need help with any of your career needs, because I'm the gal for you.
I'm the gal for you. Put that at your email signature. It'd be great.
I will.
Sweet. All right. Well, thank you guys again for listening. Tune in every week to listen to our next podcast, and we'll talk soon.